So a quick recap. The body now is all carved. It has the roundovers and the neck pocket done. I need to put a bevel here. I don't know about a belly carve, but yeah, that's where we are on that. So, proper router bit, we're going to do a test run. I've got a couple of stop blocks to make sure we do the right length for the truss rod. I've measured in from this board the same distance that would be in from the neck. So anything I do here would be repeatable here. It seemed to go well. I just need to square up the ends now. After a bit of chiselling, that worked like a dream. That's gone in nice. Now it's time to do the real thing. So we're done. It looks slightly more wonky than it actually is because of the way I peeled off the sticker that was getting in the way. But we're in. Well, that's a good sign. Yeah. Now I'm going to cut the shape of the neck out as close as possible. I don't have a template to route this to, so there's going to be a lot of sanding afterwards. So now to make the edges of the neck flush with these lines, I'm going to glue some scraps onto here, up to the line, and then run the edge router along here, and perhaps do something along the edge of this headstock here as well. Yeah. Well, I'm not entirely sure that hasn't ruined it and made it worse. So we'll see. Yes. Okay. So I get this off, try and flatten it as best as I can by hand, and then get the fretboard glued on. Glued. The router wasn't quite as smooth as I'd hoped, so I'm just going to use a flat board and some sandpaper to get that down. Right, now the sides are true, including this chunk I knocked out here annoying me. I'm going to do some further shaping around these other areas here. So I just went out to the garden and finished shaping the neck, and it's beginning to look like an actual guitar neck now, which is really pleasing. I can't actually think what I need to do next. I need to glue the fretboard and the truss rod in, and then shape it all back together again. So now it's time to glue the fretboard on. What I'll do, I read somewhere to put a blob of silicone in under this bit and this bit. Let me see what I'm looking at now. Just under the blocks on both ends of the truss rods, so it doesn't rattle. Then when that's in, I'm going to put a line of masking tape over, and then glue this on. I think favouring this side of the bit of wood, because that gets most of these bits out of the way. So now we're in Splooge Central. I'm not sure whether just to chip that glue off later because I'm going to be cutting the board off, or to do something about. I'm going to leave it there. Right, well, clamping time is up. Well, I've removed one clamp because that holds the camera up. Trying to get the rest of the clamps off. See if I can get some of that glue splooge off, and then leave it to dry fully. And mercifully, we have good squeeze out all the way around. I'll try and get some of that off before it's too set. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm too afraid of disturbing it, so we'll go back to that later. So I did consider bringing the edge of the fretboard in line with the edge of the neck using a router, but because of all my dribbly glue, which I regret not cleaning up now, that's not really going to be possible. I could clean the glue off, but a couple of places I've done that, it's started to tear, so no to a router. And we're going to go just tidy it over with plug. It shouldn't take too long. Right, lasers. How exciting. But enough of that. I can still see it, you can't. It's at this point the project could so easily be a failure. If I just move aside to this spare neck I have here, I'll just kind of line up the heel joints. Yeah, look how far down the headstock is. Oh, you can't really. Hang on. The headstock's completely out. If we look at the holes I pre-drilled, they're going to go in at an angle, and this one even, it's not going to come straight down. The position of the nut to maintain a 25.5 inch scale is literally just on the edge of this fingerboard. So I'm going to have to do some thinking. Can I still use this neck? The answer's going to be yes. But I've got to work out how first. How did that happen? I'm going to assume, because like an idiot I didn't actually measure anything. I just printed out this template, assumed it was to scale, and used it. An alternative would be to make another neck, but just do that off camera and catch up with you here. But I want to see. I mean, another worry. See how tight this spare neck is in the pocket. This one, bit of a wobble. So I'm going to have to do a few more measurements. If this isn't wide enough to contain 6 strings for the bridge, then I guess it is game over. But we'll see. Okay, so having taken measurements using calipers at the whips down the board, I'm happy that the fretboard is wide enough to accommodate the 6 strings just fine. I'm just going to have to replug these holes and move the tuner holes further up. That teach me for pre-drilling. What I do on the template, I thought it was fine. Okay, so I'm going to mark out where the holes, mark out where the nut's going to be, so I can then later on measure, and then try to fill these holes somehow, because I'm to move them over, it's only going to be by that much. So it looks like it's one hole distant actually. Well, wouldn't that be weird if I could just use these holes and then put another one up here? But that's... Huh. Would it look insane if I moved the high E to this side and had 5 and 1? Because if we're going up again, so there's what? An inch. Oh, fair enough. There's an inch between each hole. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, 6. So if I move to here, the 6th one would have to be too close to the edge. So I've measured, I've put a centre line in, the nut will fit here. I might have to glue it in place because I don't know what's going to happen to the material on the other side of it, but we'll see. And it will work. I'm also going to try and go ahead with these holes because actually the pole that the tuner will be attached to will be fatter than that, so it will be over slightly. And that's where we go. So now I'm going to take my radius block, put some sandpaper on it, and go. And I realise I'm facing the wrong direction. Oh, doesn't matter. No, I was going to use the centre line to see when I've gone far enough, but actually I've decided to put a pencil all down the board to make sure I'm keeping the block even. So, not the best angle, but you can see we have a radius. And if I haven't actually tested this yet, so if we have it is a 10, I believe. At this end, can't really see. It needs a little bit more work, but the rest of the fretboard's great. So, done that. So here we are. We have a radius neck. And now I'm going to mark out the fret markings. I think I've decided against doing dots or anything because it's my first time. So yeah, I'm just going to mark out the fret positions and then go cut them. I have somewhere. There we go. I've done a practice fretting on a block that I radiused. So I'm ready to go for that. I do actually plan to measure down the centre of the neck, but I thought it would be interesting if I put another neck on here and mark the edges of the fretboard where the fret markers are on this neck, which I assume to be true as a control. So when I've got my dot in the centre for marking the line across, do they actually meet up with the outside ones of an existing neck? That's the plan. Right, so I have my side markings, which are for reference. I've taped down this ruler, which is the best one I have for the job, and I have the distances, so I'll mark them all out and see if they line up. And if I like doing this, I'll get a proper fret marker. I forgot to turn the camera back on, but partway through that I noticed that my side markings were nowhere near the lines I've marked out along this tape. And it seems my side markings are completely out of place. So I'm not quite sure what's wrong with that. I did double check that. So now I'm going to make these spots into straight lines for the cutting. Well, this is frankly quite terrifying. So I'm now going to score each of these lines with a knife, because I found when I did my test that was the better way to start the cut. Oh, and for the cuts, I'm going to be using a fret saw, which isn't meant for this sort of fret, but it's meant for fretwork. Anyway, let's see how that goes. Well, that seemed to go to plan. I have my frets pre-cut. I've clamped this down so I don't knock it over and send them everywhere, but I bought them pre-cut, so I've ordered them by length, and then we'll put them in here. Now I can see why some people online say it's best to cut the slots initially before radiusing, because trying to balance the thing and keep it still is not the easiest. However, like most things online, everyone's an expert and their way is best. Okay, well, we have fret slots. We have 22 fret slots. So next I need to peel this tape away, and then I guess I get slotting, which is terrifying. So enough procrastination. I'm going to go and hammer some frets here. Now I don't have a fret press. I don't have a fret hammer, so I have attached some elastic from some physio stretchy bands to the edge of a real hammer. So might work, might not. I mean, you're supposed to have a dead blow hammer so it doesn't bounce. I've just put elastic on a hammer. Frets are over here, which you saw earlier. I have some wood glue, which I shall paint onto each fret. I have a wet wipe to clean up any splooge. So here we go. So I believe the correct thing to do is to work from the outsides, get the outsides down and then the middle so it can spread out, rather than if you start on one side it might creep across. So let's just get a little bit of glue on the tang. I think we're good. Let's see if that one jumps out when I do the next one. So what I'm going to do next is clamp that onto the frets just to get them in place and make them stay there. Right, well, it may seem like OTT clamping, but I'll put that on there for I think 20 minutes, because that's how long this glue takes to seize, and then move on. Right, so worst case scenario, I'll take this off and all the frets come off because they're stuck to this. But this, there we go. Well, they all seem to be attached. They all seem to be about the same height as well, which is impressive. Right, well, on with the show. So, all the frets are in. And I managed not to clamp the board to it once. What you see? Not a lot. Yeah, they're all in. As I've glued them in, I'm going to leave this well alone for probably 24 hours or whatever the glue time is. And that might be enough for this video, so see you next time.